got to be consistent and you've got to deliver. You know, do what you say and say what you do. That's really key at this stage in your career.
You know, one of the epiphanies of my career, because 20 years ago I was 20 years younger, and I'd been a litigator, and then I went into marketing. Like Friday I was a litigator, and Monday suddenly I'm marketing director at a big firm, and I had no experience. But there was so little good marketing going on 20 years ago. This is my 20th LMA conference. And so I'd have a good idea, because there were just so many good ideas. There weren't any ideas that had been used yet, really. And so I'd have a good idea. It was obviously a good idea. I'd tell you in 2 seconds, you'd say, hey, that was a good idea. Because we're marketers, and we sort of think that way. And you sort of analyze it for 15 seconds. You jump ahead a little bit. You've drawn your own conclusions. And it makes sense. And you'd say, yeah, that's a good idea. That's not how lawyers think, I learned. Because I'm a lawyer, I sort of perceived that they're like me, us. And what I found is, so I go racing into the marketing partner's office, and I'd say, hey, I got a great idea. Let's do this. No one else is doing this. Thinking that he would then connect the dots, jump ahead, see it's a good idea, realize we'd make money, and say, Ross, what a great idea, here's a bonus. And but instead, yeah, you all laugh because you have seen that same look of horror that he had on his face, and he'd tell me 15 reasons why it wouldn't happen, and 32 reasons why it was too expensive, and so on and so on, and that goes, slinking back to my office thinking he's an idiot. And then I'd realize, after a time I realized, actually, I'm the idiot, because I've failed to take my audience into consideration. I'm imposing my communication style and our thought process onto, I'm a very traditional lawyer. And so it wasn't until I took a communications class, a Myers-Briggs kind of class, when I realized, oh boy, on that wheel, in this case it was a wheel, lawyers on this side, and I'm on the direct opposite side of the wheel. There's no better or worse way to think, it's just that my way ain't their way. And so I realized that he thinks in a very traditional lawyer way, which is entirely predictable. We know exactly how they think. They think this way for a reason, and it's a very good reason. It's what makes them good lawyers. It would make bad marketers. And lawyers who think like us would be, well, not good lawyers. It's a different skill set for different purposes. And so I realized that even though I already have the conclusion in mind, I need to use all of the resources that we can generate, as we were talking about, to build the bullet points into this, to bring him along slowly. I've got to show lots of evidence. I've got to show lots of studies. I've got to show bullet points. They love bullet points. Charts are great. Examples are great. Competitor examples are great. Analogies to other professional services industries are great. And the reason that I mention this, it's got nothing to do with planning, but more maybe professional development for all of us, is that this is what you have to do if you want to get the credibility to be able to bring that plan, to be able to bring your idea or your ideas to the marketing partner, to your boss, whoever it is, who happens to be a lawyer. This is how they think. And if you do that, if you do your analysis, if you present to them like they presented, like a litigator would present it to a jury, connecting all the dots, tying it all together neatly, having support for every point that you make. Because they're going to poke at you, and they're going to yell at you, and they're going to disagree with you, and they're not being mean, that's just how they process the information. And so you have to stand up. You've got to know the information, you've got to know the area better than they do. And remember that you do because you go to these conferences. We live in marketing 40 hours a week or more. And they may spend 40 hours every 5 years. Go to these conferences, meet the people, attend the programs, and you will be a legitimate marketing expert compared to your lawyers. But you've got to prove that to them. And so this is how you prove that expertise. And there have been some very young women that I have known throughout my career that have had incredible credibility in their firm because they didn't let themselves get shouted down. They stood their ground and very politely and deferentially, as we all have to do it, argued their point. They acted like professionals. They processed the information for the lawyers in a way that made sense to the lawyers, and didn't let themselves get argued down. They stood their ground and supported their points, and the lawyer said, wow, that's really great. And suddenly, that's how they gained credibility and presence in the law firm. You can't demand it. You've got to show them that you can do it on their terms. And if you do, they really respect that. They don't respect, if you back down and apologize, which is the natural reaction when someone much older than you is yelling at you, if you do, that's not what they want. They don't want you to back down. They want you to argue your point in support. And if you do, I think that's how you get the credibility.
And it is absolutely, gosh, Ross, you're right on the money.